Hello, welcome to the Unscripted Pause. I'm Diane. Thank you for watching and listening. So, figuring life out, part three. I don't know how many parts there's going to be. Maybe this will be the last one. I don't know. But I wanted to come on and talk about this because I had like an epiphany today and I wanted to share it with y'all because I think there's really something really important about kind of understanding, and I talked about this a little bit already, but understanding what it is you don't want to do, right? As try to figure out what the plan is for your life, where you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be, like making a difference, if that kind of thing is important to you. I think one of the things that you also need to do is figure out what doesn't work for you and what you don't want to do. So here's the epiphany that I had today. I realized that working for myself, like I started, a coaching and consulting business called Dialogue with Diane, right? Okay, you know that. But one of the things I realized today is kind of like the whole thing with a dog with me. So I was saying this to somebody, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. So some of you know this, and some of you, this will be brand new information, but I have wanted a dog for a very long time. I didn't grow up with a dog. We did not have a dog growing up. Some of my older siblings, they had a dog sometimes, but I never had a dog growing up. Tommy has had dogs. And Tommy loves dogs, but Tommy does not want another dog. So I would say over the past 10, 12 years, I have repeatedly asked for a dog. And Tommy has repeatedly said no. Okay. Now, I did like come home with a dog one day. Because the place where I worked, sometimes was like they had this dog and it needed a new home and it was a shelter, it wasn't real big, it was bigger than what I wanted. But Tommy was like, if we get a dog, he wants like a Rottweiler. And I was like, no, sir. I just want a little baby dog. Little baby dog. Anyway, I have asked for a dog repeatedly, and Tommy says no. And I brought home this Sheltie once. That was not a great idea. It did not work out, not because of Tommy, but because I haven't grown up with dogs. I'm kind of scared of dogs. I love them, and I love if other people have them if they're not too big and the dog is well behaved, all of that. Um, but we had the Sheltie for like a week, and it was supposed to be just like a trial, see if it works, right? And it didn't work. But that's a story for another day. I'm not trying to go down that path of telling that story. That's a story for another day. So, so repeatedly I asked Tommy for a dog, and Tommy repeatedly says no. And then I don't know, a couple years ago, maybe it was just I don't know, it wasn't that long ago. Tommy was clearly like, I think he wanted me to stop asking, but he made a really good point. He was like, you don't want a dog. You like the idea of a dog. You want to just have a dog that sits in your lap. You can pet it. You can love on it. It will love you. And you'll come home and it'll be happy and you'll be happy. That's what you want. But there's a lot of other stuff that goes into having a dog as a pet and a part of your family. And I was like, oh, yeah. He's like, you got to train the dog. You got to walk the dog. You got to feed the dog. You got to take the dog to the vet. Dogs get sick. All of these things. And he was like, there's a lot of responsibility that goes with having a dog that you don't want. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And so I started coming to terms with the fact I was like, so I don't ask for a dog anymore because I like, oh yeah, I really don't want a dog, right? I don't want all the responsibility that goes along with having a dog. Just like the idea of a dog. And what I realized today very clearly, okay, what I realized clearly today, maybe I knew, but today it was clear. Again, I said it was an epiphany, so it was clear. Um, is that I want to do my own thing. I don't want to do my own thing. I don't want to have my own business. I like the idea of having my own business. See how I tied the dog? The idea that that's how that okay. I like the idea of having my own business. I don't like all the other stuff. I just want to do the work. I just want to do the coaching. I want to do the speaking engagements, but I don't want to build the business, right? I don't want to do that. And I don't know, I just had such a great conversation with a person earlier today where we were both kind of like, because she's a solopreneur, and we both are like just kind of talking about all these things, and really it was like we just want to do the work, but you have to do these other things if you're going to be in business for yourself. And so I was like, yeah, it's like the idea of it's just like me and a dog. Like, I just like the idea of a dog. I don't want a dog. And I get like that about a lot of things. I like the idea of things. I don't want what comes with those things, right? Like I did a video a few weeks ago about home ownership. I like the idea of home ownership. I don't want the responsibility that comes with home ownership, right? And again, like owning your own business, like I like the idea of it, but I don't want the responsibility that comes with that. And what I shared in this earlier conversation is that years ago, like years and years ago, I read this article. I think it was like an advice column, and this woman had started a business, like a brick and mortar, like a retail, like a business. What does that mean? A business is a brick and mortar business. And she wrote in looking for advice because she was saying she was tired and she was overworked and it was overwhelming and all like just all of these things. And so the advice columnist, like in the response in the magazine, basically said, what did you think owning a business was going to be? It sounds like you only thought owning a business was going to be the good things that you've seen in business ownership, but you didn't account for all of the other hard things that go along with that you maybe have to decide if you want or not. And I can remember when I read that, and it so stuck with me. It didn't stick with me enough because I'm just now coming back to it today. But it so stuck with me. It's like, oh, yeah, because there was a time, I mean, years ago, I thought I wanted to like own my own business, like a coffee shop or and we had investigated like a franchise of this like cupcake business. And then I read that article, that advice column, and I was like, oh yeah. I If you think about a brick and mortar, like whether it's a coffee shop or if it was a cupcake place, I, Diane, like the idea of people coming in. Good morning, Bob. Good morning, Susan. Like, how are you? You went your regular today? Oh, how many cupcakes you getting today? What's happening? I like that. I like that. You know, helping people to feel good. I wanted people to come into my business and leave feeling better than they came in. That's what I wanted. That is an idea of what happens in a business. That's what you want. But there's so much else that goes along with that I don't want anything to do with. And I get you can start a business and you can hire these people to do. You hire people to do marketing. That's how big business works, right? They have people that do the accounting. They have people that do the marketing. They have people that are taking care of the taxes. They have people that are bringing in new business sales. Yeah, okay. But when you're just starting off and you're just a small single person, you're doing everything. I don't want to do everything. Don't even want to think about, oh, but you'll build up and you'll get to a point. I don't want to. I want to. And this has always kind of been my thing. It's like I can always almost be really good at understanding what I don't want to do. Can't always put my finger on what I really, really, really want to do, but I can almost always tell you what I don't want to do. And so it's like, oh, but like that's like really such a big thing. Discovery of realizing that, oh yeah, I don't want to do this. I just want a regular paycheck. I want to know what the paycheck is gonna be, right? I want somebody else paying the taxes. I want or taking the taxes out. I want somebody else taking the healthcare stuff out, right? Right. And so that was a big epiphany for me. And so as you think about what it is that you want to do, who you are, what it is that you're trying to do, I think what I want to share with you is be honest with yourself about what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want. Yeah. So be honest with yourself, right? Because this is it's like if we're talking about your career, this is like important, right? If, like, for instance, Tommy did hair before he retired and before he had his accident, which caused him to retire. And so he loved doing hair. If I would try to talk to him, like, let's talk about retirement. When do you want to retire? He'd be like, he'd be like, he was like, what am I retiring for? I love doing this. Like, this is my life's calling. This is my work. I love it. Why would I retire? See, that's what I want for everybody. Why would I retire? He was like, why would I retire? I love this. And so it's about finding your thing, right? Finding your thing that so fully speaks to you. Like, right? Like that's what I want. Like that's what I want for you all that are listening. But you really do have to be honest about what it is that you want to do, what it is that you're willing to do. Now, what I'm not saying is, as you think about what you don't want to do, because sometimes if we're working for other people, if there's in the job posting, I think every single job description has this, or job posting, job description has this about, like other duties as assigned, right? Yeah. So there's always going to be something, even if you're working for a company, there's always going to be something that you don't really want to do. Something that's like, I got to do that. I don't love that, but that is different. That's not what I'm talking. That's different. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about in the full scale of what you do. So there was a job posting I looked at a couple weeks ago because I mean I have been looking for full-time work. There was a job posting that I looked at a couple weeks ago that it sounded really good. And I was like, oh, Diane, you've got to apply for this. And I know it was like a philanthropic advisory firm. And I know the owner. And I was like, you need to apply for that. Like you'll at least get an interview or a conversation. But a big, big part of the role was business development. And I thought, why would I apply for that? I don't want to do business development for my own role, my own thing. Now I'm going to go to somebody else's thing and business development is going to be a huge piece of that. No, I'm not doing that. So that's what I'm talking about. Understanding that when you are doing work or you're doing a role, or if you're looking for something else, understanding that if 50% of it, or if there's a huge percentage of the role that is something you really don't want to do, yeah, that could be problematic for you. Um, but I say that also with the understanding that sometimes you need a job. So sometimes you're going to take things that you can get. So I get that too, right? I feel you on that. I get that. So, yeah, that's part 3 of figuring out life. So thinking about what's real for you. What are like your truth bombs? Because when I was on that phone call earlier with that friend, my friend, and I was like, oh, I'm dropping all kinds of truth bombs. There were all kinds of things that in the conversation with her that were coming up for me that were like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh, yeah. And for her too, it was like both sides. We were like, oh, we needed this call. We needed this call. So that's what I got for you today. That's what I got for you today. I hope that little bit is helpful for someone. And it's Friday. If you're watching this on Friday, have a good weekend. Um, and I will see you all next week with new videos, maybe still talking about figuring out life, but maybe talking about something else because it's unscripted and you never know what I'm going to bring. See? Yeah. All right. Be well.